Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Well, I cannot tell you how excited I am and also how grateful I am to have the one and only Stormie Grace here with us today. Now, Stormie has very quickly been carving out a space for herself in the astrology world as a superstar, a YouTube sensation, and so much more. She's just an excellent, excellent astrologer. But also, and this is something actually that I tell some of my students, there's a class that I teach at Kepler College called YouTube for Astrologers. And when students ask me, how do you get more opportunity? The one thing I always say is be loving. Be loving. Love can get you everything. And I think Stormie Grace is an exceptional example of this. When I see her sharing, when I see all the ways in which she shares her platform with other astrologers at all different spaces and places in their career, there is love that radiates from her along with her brilliance. Now, the very big news that I'm here to celebrate with you today is that Stormie Grace is stepping in last minute at the July speaker series of Synchronicity University. I could not be more grateful. And because she's stepping in last minute, we are extending the Choose Your Tuition rate until and through the holiday weekend that is now beginning. The holiday July 4th weekend, we are going to extend as low as just $5 a class with Choose Your Tuition rate at synchronicityuniversity.com. Stormie Grace, I love you. Thank you for being here.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me. It's so nice to be back. I do feel like I was just here. And so when you said you want to come back, I was like, well, yeah, I was just there. It was nice. I'll come back. I like it.
Thank you so much. You know, I cannot tell you how amazingly grateful I am that you, of your schedule, of all the people who want you to participate in all the different things that you do, share your astrological brilliance, that you would step in last minute and help me out when one of the astrologers stepped out. You stepped in, and it just felt like this huge blessing. It felt like very, very right to have you join us. And so you're going to be teaching on Saturn through the houses.
Yes, and what a planet, what a topic. It's not small.
That's true.
Yeah, there's nothing about Saturnian energy that is just a little bit, so I'm thrilled to present this. And maybe, even if people have been practicing for a long time, have their own Saturn experiences to bring to the table, to add some perspective so we can go back in and look at it and just, bring it to the level of consciousness, I think.
And so what do people need to understand about Saturn? Like, let's say whether it's the difference between transiting or natally, what are you going to be focusing on? I think you're focusing more on natal, but how is it that you understand the difference?
Absolutely. And I was going to focus more on natal. And then it just really was calling to me that I was like, I need to talk about the transiting movement as well so we can see where that's happening. But when we're talking about Saturn in the natal chart, this is like, it's yours. Bring it on in, own it. That one's not going to move or run off on you. And even by progression is not going to get too far away from the lessons that you're learning. So in the Saturn energy, one of the things I don't do is teach people to fear it. Right? I'm like, oh no, Saturn is here with some limitations, some challenges, maybe places that you'll doubt yourself until you really learn to get that structure and that discipline underneath you. But ultimately, Saturn is one of the great cheerleaders of your chart because he's like, hey, if you come this way, I'm going to really show you how to do this and take this particular area of your life to a level you may be never even considered doing so. So it really is an opportunity planet, but it can feel heavy. So we're going to talk about that as well, because it is so great to be able to grow with your planets. But we also need to talk about what does it feel like to be a human being having a natal Saturn experience, and what does that energy hold? So we're going to explore that a little bit as well. But then the transiting Saturn, that guy's going to move on. Right. So we get to have a season and experience with that because Saturn has to keep moving on his way. So as we experience that, these are very specific snapshot times in our lives where you can plan, you can structure, you can invite yourself to the table, to a conversation with that time in your life and with that energy. And we're going to explore as it goes through the houses what you're trying to refine, maybe even what are some of the outside or external experiences that walk right up to your front door and how you can greet them in a very Saturnian way. And some of it is just heavy because we're human, right? We have a whole stretch of emotional experiences that we're challenged when we're asked to mature in that way. So we're going to explore Saturn in both of these veins and see what's out there for us.
It sounds so exciting. One thing I thought when you were just talking is that you are very loving in your approach. And so, of course, it would make sense that you would take an energy that so many fear or think of as so restrictive or limiting, and they think of those words as bad in some way, but that you're able to bring an energy of love to that. I think that's very profound.
I do too. I really do. I have to say that I have really come to a place, especially over this last 5 years, where in any of the planets, any of the energies, I just think it's a cosmic conspiracy up there to have us be our very best. But we are humans. So we run into some energy that challenges within us, and we have to learn how to grow. And one of the things I think we don't do is do that on our own, because that increases the fear, it increases the doubt, it increases the terminal uniqueness, right? It only happens to me. And none of that has to be long lasting. But when you're going through a Saturn cycle, it's not like Mercury. You're not going to experience that for 2 weeks and be better. To come to the next level takes practice, takes honesty, takes a level of integrity that in that space, we maybe just don't have it yet. Not because we're bad people, but because we haven't learned to come to that level yet. So it's very exciting to get in there and wrap it in love, but also to have the conversation. I have Jupiter and Scorpio. So I'm like, we also have to get to the root. Like, what's really happening here so that you can work with that Saturnian energy.
As you were speaking, I was remembering certain Saturn transits through my houses that I went through, and I just felt a burst of love for the lessons that I went through as you were speaking. Like, it was just so profound. I had to like hold my heart for a moment, because now that I think back, you're so right that even though there might have been these hard things, and like you have Jupiter in Scorpio, I have my sun in the 8th house. So I understand, like, I like to say the universe is wise and loving, but I'm not Pollyanna. I
Right.
know that there are experiences in life that can be very, very challenging to people, and some that can feel, all the different ways we can say challenging, right? Like cruel or unfair or hard or difficult. But as you were talking, I was thinking about the things I gained in those journeys as well, and how powerful those things were, and how they shape us to prepare us to be more loving. The other thing I thought of while you were talking is I remembered something that the Sufi mystic, philosopher, and astrologer Ibn Arabi said way back in the 12th century. He said that the chart is perfect. The chart is everything you need it to be so that you can do all it is that you were created to do by a loving vision for your life, a higher, more loving vision for your life. And the way that Ibn Arabi understood it, he called it the magnificent breath, that we are new ways in which God itself experiences itself in ways that it would not have had we not been there to have those emotions, those feelings, those elations, those sorrows, those happinesses. And as you were talking, I was thinking about how Saturn plays into that perfection, into that new way that we may know all these varied emotions, but also the divine within, nothing less than the divine within.
Absolutely. And I come from 1,000% the same perspective, whether it's a chart or the actual person standing in front of me in whatever state and condition we meet. My starting point is whatever it is absolutely perfect as it's been delivered, as it is. And whatever we're going to grow to, whatever we're going to experience next, we'll do that together. But it's interesting because when I do think of how Saturn plays into that, Saturn for me is not a planet that wants to mince a lot of words, right? It is here for maturity, but it's not just, I want to mature your money. I want to take your money to the next level. For me, Saturn is a spiritual planet. It wants spiritual maturity, because when I mature spiritually, everything comes up. If I were to just have a little mini maturity moment, that's only going to go as far as humans can take it, right? Like I lose interest in maturity quite quickly. So if I mature spiritually, every piece of me levels up to that place where you're saying, I think that this power wants to experience through us, wants us to be useful to one another by having to also get into the dank of the feelings, of the doubt, right? By being perfect, by having it always be good, that's not useful to my fellow human being. That is not useful to my creator, right? But the full range of what we get to experience is, I think, what really makes it good. Not to mention, I treat Saturn as the timekeeper. We have been allotted the time that we have, and there are things that need to be done, right? I think about this scene in Percy Jackson, and they're supposed to be going on this quest and this mission, and they get stuck in Las Vegas, of all places, eating the lotus flowers, right? And that's me. I'll just get off track eating all of the good things and not actually do the growing that I need to do. Or I'm eating all of the good things and then the growing shows up and I back away from it because I think something's wrong, as opposed to leaning into it to say, hold on, I'm on time. This is right on time. Let's do the work, right? Yeah.
So powerful, so powerful. And I think Saturn can also help us to understand that, yes, belief is wonderful, like Jupiter is wonderful, Neptune is wonderful. I believe that my soul is eternal. I believe that I've had experiences before this life and I will continue to have experiences after this life. But this life, this incarnation is finite. And so embrace it, use it, do something with it. You are worthy of doing something with it. That's the thing too. Yeah.
Yeah, that is so Saturnian, because I can have all of the beautiful Mars desire that I want. It is Saturn that's going to help me get it done. And I became an astrologer after I started practicing, after I had to show up every day and get it done. And I had to get in there with clients and I had to look at those charts and listen and let a person's chart speak to me. I became an astrologer then, right? After the hard work was done, not my desire to be one, after. And Saturn is that, yeah, you did that. Saturn is the you did that planet, right? Because on the other side, Saturn does show those rewards, right? You go through medical school, you become a doctor. You go through labor, you become, the mom or the parent, right? It's the you did that, because there's also a fair amount of reward that comes to meeting Saturn eye to eye. Saturn is not here to keep us down, but also not here to play with how we feel about our growth experience. There are other planets that help us on the feelsies, but the getting it done, that's Saturn's territory. Love it.
Yeah, and that part of you that knows that you did that, as you said, you did that, you manifested that, you worked for that. My parents taught me that you can have anything you're willing to work for. That I am responsible for my success. I am responsible for my opportunities. I am responsible for my happiness, but I could have anything I was willing to work for. I have Saturn in the first house. That makes perfect sense for me. But there's something it's like self-respect. That's how you get self-respect. Yeah. By knowing that you did it, you stuck to it, you worked, and you manifested as a result of your work. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be exactly what you thought it was going to be. And it could be that the road takes you in different directions, and yet you did it. That's self-respect. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a lot of skill that is involved in Saturnian understanding, I think. And it's funny because, we get to sit with people and the question is, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? Right. And I always feel like, go to your Saturn and develop your skill, your purpose. You'll be able to apply it anywhere. Your skill will take you into it. Wherever you're supposed to do that skill, that place where you did that, you'll find your purpose. Just find your skill first. Right. And I think that Saturn speaks a lot to that, because you gotta nail it down and do it.
Wow. But you are somebody who's nailed it down and done it. You're like me in that way. Let me ask, where's your Saturn in your chart?
I have Saturn in the second house in Libra, retrograde, part of a stellium of Mars and Pluto and my moon.
Wow, that's such a powerful energy there. But I think that's also why you're so nice. Like you're nice. Saturn, of course, you don't think of it as nice, but all that Libra energy, that's why you're so nice and you're so, like mediagenic and all of that. But so let me ask you, like, because I like to take it back to the beginning and I want to ask, like, a part of me wants to ask, how did you get into astrology? But what I really want to know is, how is it that your astrology is rooted in love? Because not everybody is like that. Not everybody approaches astrology the way you and I do. I always say you can't have astrology without the astrologer. And
Mm.
whoever you are as an astrologer, however you understand the world around you, that is going to determine what you interpret when you look at the sky. It has been said it's an act of poetry. Interpretation is an act of poetry. So you and I are very rooted in a loving approach, right? Wanting to see the sky for its perfection, for its love, for its wisdom. How did you get there? Because I know there's a lot of stories out there, lots of videos out there that say how you became an astrologer, but how did you become an astrologer rooted in love?
Yeah, I think for me, really what it looks like is that I'm a real live human being. I got to have a time in my life where I was less than humble, or I was more about me. And I will grant you, it was not an entirely long period, but it was spiritually very significant for me because in that time, I was coming to the end of that. Like that was not sustainable for me anymore in a spiritual way. And I just remember I went to sleep and I ended up meeting a guy who came and was spinning this wheel. And as he just kept spinning the wheel, all it was were these lessons in life. And if I got it and I could answer the right thing, the lesson moved on, right? And there were things that I couldn't answer. And when we were done, he said, "Your life starts right now." And that was a really big deal for me because then I came in contact with other real life human beings who had lived the darker sides of themselves and didn't want that anymore, right? Who had felt doubt and who had debt and didn't want that life anymore. So through just being a human is how I got rooted in love. Is because I just understand there is good and bad in all of us. And it is my genuine heartfelt belief that everybody is doing the very best that they can. And I know it because it's what they're doing. And when they're capable of something different, they will demonstrate that. And I have grace like crazy. That's where the name Stormie Grace came from. I was taught that grace is the slack God cuts us for being a-holes. And I need a lot of that, right? Like I need a lot. I need to get off the hook a lot, and mostly with me. So that is where that comes from, a genuine, maybe even call it a genuine, still desperate need and desire to be close enough with the universe by recognizing that humans are all of it, and it's all perfect.
Wow. Yeah. That's such a beautiful way to put it. It is all perfect. Even Saturn, even Saturn,
Even
man, even
Saturn.
Saturn will be perfect. And so Stormy Grace, once again, is going to be teaching at Synchronicity University July speaker series. Choose your tuition rate is being extended through the 4th of July weekend. And so for as low as $5 a class, you get to learn from the amazing Stormy Grace and so many more. Stormy, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for stepping in, as I said, last minute. And also, I just want to tell you, you glow. You just glow. And congratulations. So many opportunities have been coming your way. And you, of all people, in my humble opinion, you deserve them all because of how loving you are, because of the way that you glow, because of the good things that you do for astrology. And I celebrate you. I truly celebrate you. And I'm so, so excited to learn from you very soon.
Oh, thank you so much. And it's just fun to be here with you because I watched you forever on YouTube. And then now here we are. And it's like, so
I
thank you.
love you. Thank you for saying that. That's such a beautiful thing. It means so much to me that I have been some part of your journey. And now, look, we're sharing our journeys together and we get to work together and celebrate astrology and put good energy out there in the world together. That is everything. Yeah.
That is everything, isn't it? I just will tell you this quickly, but I had a student who signed up and is going to come to series and talks, and it was the best compliment. It said, "You two are my favorite women in astrology."
Yeah, and people say that in the comments. I know that in the comments here, people are going to say that. And I know when I talk about you on my weekly videos, people mention that as well. Whenever I mention you, that Stormie Grace and Nadiya Shah are my favorites. And I love that too. I think that's so amazing because that tells me that you and I are putting something good out there in the world that's resonating with people. And the people are resonating with that part of us that wants to affirm an astrology that is guided by love and wisdom. I think that's very powerful.
I do too. I
Yeah.
do too.
Thank you, Stormy. I love you. I will see you at the July speaker series, and I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you, everybody out there, for watching. And until we connect again, take care. Bye.